lamppost. We're going to be using 26 gauge floral wire. I'm going to cut a piece about 24 inches in length. I'm going to find the center point of my wire and I'm going to set that off to the side. So I have that measured out already. Using my wire cutters, this is just a pair of Stanley wire cutters and of course my Fisker scissors. We're also going to be using 4 different colors of ribbon and our Pro Bow the hand. So on the Pro Bow, I have my center finger in place. On row D, I am using 5 pegs. 1 in the center, skip 1, 2 left, 2 right, row on fingers 2 left, 2 right, and fingers 4 left, 4 right. I will not be using the last row or the last peg hole. So for this, we're simply going to take our ribbon, and again, I have 4 different colors of ribbon. Depending on what project you're using, is going to depend on what ribbon you use. And I'm going to stack this ribbon right on top of each other. So that's how we're going to start this. So all 4 of my ribbon are stacked right on top of each other. I'm going to pinch this together. I'm pleating it. I like the word pleat rather than pinch because you do not want to fold it over on top of each other. So you're pleating it together. I'm going to take my wire from underneath and I'm going to add my wire. Give it a twist around, tighten that around there. You'll notice that I don't have a lot of overhang here. In fact, it could be less than that. And I added my wire to my ribbon. Now I'm going to take my 4 ribbons. I'm going to loop it around my center peg, my center finger. I'm going to place this about center peg here. I don't want my ribbon all the way to the bottom. I don't want it all the way to the top. I want it right about center. I'm going to fold my tail around on the inside. And I'm going to take the top wire and wrap it clockwise around my center peg. My bottom wire, I'm going to wrap once around my nail down below, and I'm going to tuck that underneath the board out of my way. We will not need that wire until we're at the end. Now I'm going to take my ribbon. I'm going to come in from the side right on top of this piece here. So I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to bring all 4 ribbons, making sure that they're not twisted, making sure they're not lopsided, and all stacked on top of each other correctly. And I'm going to come in from the side and I'm going to pleat this again. So I'm just pleating it, placing my thumb on there to hold it in place, and now I'm going to twist this up. Give myself some more ribbon here. Twist it so that the pretty side of the ribbon is facing away from me. Now I'm going to loop it around that loop. When you're working with multiple ribbons, sometimes they will get a little off track, so you just want to make sure that you're resetting so that they're all layered correctly. You notice that I let go of my center finger. I'm going to come in from the side and I'm holding it underneath here with my finger, and I'm going to pleat it together again. Give it a twist from the bottom up. So this is kind of important to make sure that when you twist it, you're going from the bottom up. Loop it around the next loop. holding my finger again underneath here. So I'm holding this right underneath here so that my ribbons don't go all the way down to the board. Going to pleat that together. Pinch it together. Hold it in place with my thumb. Give myself a little more ribbon here. From the bottom up, give it a twist. Make sure my ribbons on the pretty side are facing away from me. Wrap it around my next loop. I've let go of my other end. Hold that in place one more time. I've got one ribbon that's not lining up, and that's because I've got too much excess ribbon pulled away. Alright, so now I have one more underneath there. One more finger coming in from the side, pleating it together, pinch, twist, bottom side up. Pinch. Now I'm going to hold this final pinch with my finger right there. I'm going to unwrap, actually on this one I'm going to use my other hand to hold that in place because I'm going to take my right hand, unwrap that from the center peg. I'm going to pull out my wire from down below. And I'm going to pull, I'm holding my ribbon in place with this finger. I'm going to bring the bottom ribbon up from behind there. And while I'm pulling, I'm going to twist it. Now I can completely let go. I'm going to take the remaining ribbon and I'm going to measure out. "10 inches from here." I'm going to find my center point, measure another 10 inches, and I'm going to cut that off right there. Now, I did on this particular bow, my white ribbon has, I've finished the roll with my white ribbon. At this point, I can actually add white ribbon back into here, but I'm not going to worry about it because this is going to be all the color I'm going to put in my tail. So now I'm going to pleat the end of this again. Pretty side away from me. There's the pretty side facing that direction. I'm going to loop this around and put it in between those two wires. I'm going to see how I have the overhang right here. I have an overhang right there. I'm going to take my wire, pull, and twist. So now we have a complete circle. I'm going to take the center of that circle and I'm going to cut that in half. Pretty side away from me. I'm going to add one additional wire to the center just so that I have the additional support when I add it to my lamppost. So I'm going to cut another piece of 26 gauge wire, go right down in the center, come off to the side of my peg. I'm going to put that right on top and give it another twist and pull. My 2 sets of wire, I'm going to blend the 2 of them together. Now we have ribbon tails, and again, facing away from me, pretty side away from me. To remove the bow from Pro Bow the hand, I usually take out the center peg and it'll lift directly off. There is your bow before we fluff it. So let's bring out the fluff box. If you do not have a fluff box, you can use, well, actually, my husband made me a fluff box. It comes with an eye hook and a nail. I'm going to slide these wires right underneath the eye hook, and I'm going to wrap my wires around the nail. I'm going to take my tails and bring them towards me. If you prefer to dovetail your tails, now would be the time to do it. If you're going to curl your tails, you can do that after it's added to the lamppost. These will move around quite frequently, trust me. The white did have a short tail on it, and I'm just going to leave that in place. Now we're going to take our 4 ribbons and we're going to start spreading those apart. Notice how I'm kind of giving it a twist and then pulling apart the wired ribbon. Give it a twist, pull apart the wired ribbon. Going to do the same thing with the next 2 colors. I have a stripe over here, so I do not want another stripe over here, so I'm going to use the other bottom color, which is this red and white. The only rule that I would say is you don't want to put the same ribbons right next to each other or on top of each other. If you keep that rule in mind, you'll be doing pretty good. That will help you come out with a fantastic bow. So since I have that one up here, I'm going to go down here with that. So again, focusing on not having the same ribbons right next to each other. Now I am pulling pretty tight. If you are, when you're creating the bow, if you're able to get your wires tight when you tie it off before you remove it from the Pro Bow, you should be able to pull and tug on your ribbon without it coming loose or moving around or shifting. If you're a beginner at Pro Bow the hand, that's where you're going to need the most practice, is getting that tight. And guys, don't get discouraged after the first bow or 2, because it does take a little bit of practice, but I will tell you from experience that it makes a huge difference on the type of bow that you're making. I don't have to hold this in my hand. My bows come out consistent. They come out gorgeous using Pro Bow the hand. So I think I mentioned earlier, if you would like to have more information on where to get a Pro Bow the hand, you can check out my website under favorite tools, wreath making tools, and you'll see a link to Pro Bow the hand in there. So now that we have this completely fluffed, it's going to move as you continue to touch it. So when we attach it to the swag, I know I will. I'll be refluffing. So now I'm going to unwrap that from the nail. I'm going to slide it out of my eye hook. And I'm going to lay that on the table. This we no longer need. But we do need a...